Have you ever heard of Donald Decker, also known as Don Decker, or the Rain Man? A man who could control the rain and had many credible witnesses to back him up. There are quite a few theories surrounding this story, so let's get into it. The story of Don Decker first came to light in 1993 when the story first aired on Unsolved Mysteries with many credible witnesses. The year that it occurred was 1983. Don was only 21 years old and had been incarcerated with a sentence of 4 to 10 years. Due to receiving stolen property. On February 24th, Don's grandfather passed away, and Don was granted a furlough to go to his funeral. The one thing that nobody really knew, though, was that Don's grandfather had severely abused him. And the abuse started when he was only 7 years old. So when his grandfather passed away, he felt that the one true evil in his life was finally gone. At the funeral, his grandfather was highly praised by his parents. This upset Don very greatly, so that night he decided to spend the night with a couple of friends. He went and stayed with Bob Kiefer and his wife. While at the home, at first, everything was fine. Then, suddenly, an uneasy, chilled feeling came across Don, and he suddenly went into a peculiar type of trance. And then suddenly, water started flowing down from the walls of the house, and then from the ceiling. But oddly enough, only in the living room. Thinking it was some sort of problem with the house, the Kieflers immediately contacted their landlord, Ron Van Wy, who immediately showed up to see what was going on and could not believe the amount of water that was inside the house. What was even more to the disbelief of the family was finding out that in that part of the house there was no piping in the walls. Then the Kieflers and Ron realized that not only was the water coming down the walls and out of the ceiling, it was also flowing upwards out of the floor and even flying sideways. At this point, Ron decided to call his wife over and to call the police. Officers John Bojan and Richard Walbert answered that call. They showed up to find the same scene, water coming from every which way unexplainably. Not really knowing what to do, the police officers left to go try and file a report. At this point, Don and the Kieflers decided to leave the house and go across the street to a restaurant, leaving the landlord and his wife there on the premises. As soon as they left, all of the rain and the mist just disappeared. Meanwhile, over at the restaurant, rain suddenly started happening within the restaurant. Pam Scarfano had actually witnessed the rain in the apartment earlier that day. She was the owner of the restaurant and was now witnessing it a second time. She was under the belief that the devil was making Don do this. So, she suggested to him that he reach out and try to get a preacher or priest. She handed him a crucifix, and when he touched the crucifix, it actually burned him. When Dawn and the Keflers left the restaurant, the rain stopped over there. And then when they got back, the landlord's wife decided to confront Dawn. She was convinced that he had somehow caused all this damage on purpose. Well, as Dawn started to get upset, pots and pans started to fly about on their own. He levitated up off of the ground and was thrown violently across the kitchen. A few hours later, the officers returned back onto the scene with the chief, back to the apartment where it was once again raining. The chief was a huge skeptic, and he was convinced it was merely a plumbing problem. So he told his officers not to file any sort of report and not to return back to the address. But the officers did not heed their chief's advice. 3 officers returned back the next day, trying desperately to figure out what had been witnessed. One of them handed Dawn a cross, and again it burnt him, and he levitated up and went flying violently across the room. And then after that, one of the officers noticed that he had 3 claw marks on his neck that was currently bleeding. So they heeded him to get a hold of a priest. On day 3, the Keflers had convinced a preacher to come over and try to help Dawn. He prayed with him and performed a ritual on him. And as he prayed and did this ritual, Dawn fell into severe and violent convulsions, and rain started to pour. But by the end of it, the witnesses say that there was a completely different feeling within the house. The rain stopped and never happened again within the Keflers' home. A bit later, Dawn had to return to the jail because his furlough time was over. And soon after he returned to the jail, it started raining within his cell and his cellmate got soaked. This was supposed to be witnessed by 2 officers and a janitor. Though this time, Dawn claimed that he could actually control the rain. So one of the guards said, "Alright, if you can actually control this rain, make it rain in the warden's office." The guard soon ventured up to the warden's office and found him sitting behind his desk, his shirt completely soaked, and he looked terrified. When the guard asked him what happened, what was wrong, he said that water came out of nowhere and soaked him and scared him half to death. At this point, a reverend was asked to come and see Dawn. The reverend also witnessed the rain, so he sat and he prayed with him. And shortly after this, the rain stopped, and it never happened again. Yet, many witnesses still claim to this day that they witnessed Dawn cause it to rain, and that this actually took place. Okay, theories. There are many theories surrounding this. A lot of people think this is just some well put together hoax that Dawn was able to orchestrate and get a lot of people in on. Then there are the people that think that Dawn was demonically possessed. There are also those that believe that something had possessed his grandfather, and after passing away, the negative energy that had been in his grandfather moved on into Dawn. Perhaps through all the negativity he felt at the funeral surrounding his grandfather. And then there is the theory that this was his grandfather, back for a little bit of revenge to hurt him one last time. And that's the one that Dawn personally believed in himself. I myself cannot think of a logical theory to explain any of this. But I want to know what you think about this peculiar occurrence down below. Do you think it's one of the theories that I named up above, or some elaborate hoax? Or perhaps do you have your own theory? If so, let me know about it down below. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, share this out to all your peculiar friends. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. As well, don't forget to hit that bell on all notifications so you always know when I upload. And until next time, keep your eyes peeled for all things peculiar. Do 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 do.